This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Hello, I'm Sarah Donchi. Juliette has the night off. On the final day of its term, the Supreme Court issued a ruling that could totally reshape how presidential policies are challenged in court. The case in question, of course, involved President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship. Federal judges from multiple states blocked that policy nationwide, calling it unconstitutional. But today's high court decision was not about the merits of Trump's actual policy. The justices ruled 6-3 that federal judges overstepped their authority when they issued those nationwide injunctions. Our Lauren Toms dives into the sweeping implications this decision could have on cases going forward.
The U.S. Supreme Court's ruling on nationwide injunctions marks a win for presidential powers, says UC law professor David Levine. It also greatly reduces the power of federal judges to act as a check on the president.
Think of it like a tool that was in the toolbox of federal judges. And they had been using it sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes they would take it out and use it. But what the Supreme Court has said is, no, stop using that tool.
Levine, who's taught this concept of nationwide or universal injunctions for decades, says the 6-3 decision changes the power of federal judges.
This is really also a decision based on common sense.
The impact of the ruling will play out in federal courthouses like this one, as judges will have to narrow the scope of their rulings.
But if you can no longer have a nationwide injunction, then the law might be different whether you're in Chicago or whether you're in Texas or whether you're in New Mexico. It'll vary in different places.
San Francisco City Attorney David Chu says the impact will be felt locally and quickly.
If today's decision says anything, it emphasizes how important it is for cities like San Francisco and states like California to defend our rights against this administration, to be in the fight. Because we can no longer expect to benefit from other parties when they win court challenges. We have to be in the fight ourselves to ensure that we can vindicate the interests of San Francisco.
The use of nationwide injunctions dates back to the 60s, gaining traction under the Obama administration and even more under President Trump.
Now let's break it down for you. Under George W. Bush, 6 nationwide injunctions were issued. Under Obama, that number doubled with 12 nationwide injunctions issued. And under Trump's first term, that number skyrocketed. He had more than 5 times the number of nationwide injunctions issued under Obama with 64. And under Biden, 14 nationwide injunctions were issued. In each presidency, most if not all of these injunctions came from a judge appointed by a president of the opposing party. Levine says those numbers are no coincidence, pointing to the wave of controversial decisions under the Trump administration. In the majority opinion written by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, she wrote, quote, "The injunctions likely exceed the equitable authority that Congress has given to federal courts."
What Justice Barrett is doing is saying, no exception. Follow the general rules.
The Supreme Court ruling does leave the door open for class action lawsuits as a way to broadly challenge federal policy. Several groups immediately filed new class action suits today in hopes of blocking the birthright citizenship order. We heard today from a man whose family history is closely linked to the fight over birthright citizenship. The story involves Wong Kim Arc. He was born in San Francisco to Chinese immigrants and fought to be recognized as a U.S. citizen 127 years ago. In a landmark case, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled the 14th Amendment made Wong Kim Arc a U.S. citizen. Today, his great-grandson is speaking out.
We are both Americans, but unlike him, my citizenship has never been challenged. His willingness to stand up and fight made the difference. For his struggles, my humble thanks. We must stand together. We are a nation of immigrants. What kind of nation are we to be? With stateless children born to no country.
Governor Newsom called the Supreme Court ruling deeply disappointing, but said California remains hopeful the lower courts will ensure blatant federal overreach does not go unchecked. Today, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced that the USNS Harvey Milk will be renamed after Congressional Medal of Honor recipient Oscar V. Peterson. Milk, as you know, served nearly 4 years in the Navy before being discharged and was threatened with a court-martial over his sexual orientation and went on to become one of the country's first openly gay elected officials as a San Francisco supervisor. He was assassinated in 1978. According to Navy reports, Peterson helped save the lives of 123 of his shipmates during the Japanese attack on the USS Neosho during World War II. Hegseth says the change is meant to, quote, take the politics out of ship naming. Right now, a big crowd is getting together in San Francisco's Dolores Park for the annual Trans March. It's one of the largest events of its kind in the world. And organizers say this year's march is more relevant than ever with the Trump administration's efforts to restrict transgender rights. Andrea Nakano is live in Dolores Park as the march is just getting underway. Andrea, how's the turnout there today?
Well, Sarah, it's like a party out here this afternoon. Since 3 o'clock this afternoon, there have been speakers and performers up on that stage, and they have just started to organize for the 22nd annual march, which will go from here, Dolores and 19th Street, down to Turk and Taylor. Now, organizers say, unlike the Pride Parade on Sunday, they want to make sure people know this is a march, an act of resistance. The march will be roughly 2 miles and will end up at El Rio for an after party. Now, organizers cite that this march is more important than ever with a wave of anti-trans sentiment sweeping across the country, with about 900 pieces of anti-trans legislation already introduced this year. But they add, seeing the turnout today gives them hope for the future. Now, as you can see down there, people are gathering with their flags and banners. Dolores Street is almost blocked off here right at the intersection of Dolores 19. So they are going to be heading down 19th Street right now. This march is expected to take about an hour as they end up in the Tenderloin. But everybody here united in this cause. They say that they invited immigrants and people who support Palestine to join them because they say until everyone is free, no one is free. Sarah, back to you.
Yeah, similar route to the No Kings protest a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, a huge part of Pride festivities. Andrea Nakano, thank you so much. Be sure to watch our Pride special this Sunday on Pix Plus. We'll highlight members of the LGBTQ community making a difference here in the Bay Area. It all starts at 10 a.m. Sunday on Pix Plus. Excitement for the upcoming 4th of July weekend is building in the Bay Area. At the same time, local law enforcement is getting tough on people who are selling illegal fireworks. Devin Feely is here with details on Big Bus. I feel like we do hear about these kind of every year.
Oh, yeah. Enforcement ramps up. Law enforcement have their hands full right now at this time of year. So we're going to start in San Jose. Police conducted a series of undercover operations to find illegal fireworks and explosive dealers. Their operation last week led them to a storage facility on West Capitol Expressway. Officers posed as buyers to identify and arrest one of the suspected dealers. After searching the suspect's car and storage locker, police found more than 1,300 pounds of, in their words, dangerous fireworks and explosives. And on Monday, another undercover investigation led officers to 2 homes in San Jose. Officers seized more than 2,000 pounds of illegal fireworks and improvised explosive devices. Police say these IEDs are hundreds, if not thousands of times more powerful than commercial-grade fireworks. Officers arrested 2 suspects during the raid. Police say that they hope their investigation eventually leads them to whoever is providing the dealers with those fireworks and explosives.
These people are distributing dangerous items. They could end up in the wrong hands. They could cause injury, major injury, and potentially death.
San Jose police say that they hope to make more arrests as the investigation continues. Now, meantime, in San Francisco, police tracked down a stolen U-Haul van that was full of hundreds of illegal fireworks. The department credits its real-time investigation center with helping them find that van. It allows officers to use their fleet of license plate readers and public safety cameras and drones to track down criminals. San Francisco police say the van held ground-to-sky fireworks and barrel bombs, which can cause serious injury and even death.
We unfortunately hear about that every year, too. We hear about the illegal fireworks.
People losing a hand, people losing fingers.
Yeah, and the video of that is always horrific and just makes me nervous as a parent. But Devin, thank you for the update. Still ahead here at 6 o'clock, this local teen is battling a muscle condition so rare there are only 150 cases in the U.S. and no known cure. How red tape in Washington is interfering with the fight for treatment.
I think the worst thing to watch as a parent to know that your kid has something that you can't do anything about.
Plus, the Oakland Airport takes another shot at changing its name after the last effort ended in a legal battle with SFO. And a brand new park in Sunnyvale at the site of a historic farm stand that served neighbors for half a century. How the Corn Palace's past is woven into its design. Oakland International Airport is having something of an identity crisis. They are changing their name again. The Port of Oakland announced the new name will be the Oakland San Francisco Bay Airport. Officials say it puts Oakland first while highlighting its central location in the Bay Area. This is the second new name in as many years. The original airport name change proposal was the San Francisco Bay Oakland International Airport, but that led to this legal fight with the city of San Francisco. They sued for trademark infringement. A judge temporarily blocked the use of that name. The court case is still playing out. We checked. No word yet if San Francisco will be okay with this latest name. If you grew up in Sunnyvale, you might remember the old Corn Palace. It was a family-owned farm stand that sat off Lawrence Expressway for half a century before it closed in 2015. A new city park celebrates its history. There was a ribbon cutting there today. The new Corn Palace Park references the legacy of the area through signs of produce and the colors of corn. It includes an open lawn and play area and other amenities. The Francia family ran the old farm stand. Family members were there today to talk about their deep connection to the land.
We are fortunate to have many fond memories of this land and what it did for our families and community. We are excited that the Corn Palace will be a place for you to build new memories of your own.
Corn Palace is the city's 27th park. The farm stand was originally owned by brothers Joe and Ben Francia. Changes and cuts at the Food and Drug Administration are causing a lot of concern for families of patients with rare diseases, as many wait for approvals of potentially life-saving drugs. Our Suji Nam introduces us to one family who's living in limbo, but hoping for the best.
13-year-old Henry Branagh has the perfect recipe.
I usually put mayonnaise and mustard on it
for the perfect grilled cheese sandwich.
It's fun to make and it's rewarding to eat it after.
Besides cooking in the kitchen,
I love playing with my friends.
Henry likes playing sports. But unlike many 13-year-olds, he's endured many challenges.
He was in severe heart failure and he was admitted to the hospital.
Henry's mother, Megan, says he was diagnosed with Bart Syndrome when he was 3 months old, an ultra-rare genetic disease that affects muscle and heart strength in males.
There's no treatment or cure for it at all.
Hospital rooms are Henry's home away from home.
6, 7, 8.
8 pills a day to maintain heart health, along with countless doctor visits.
I usually put a heart monitor on for 2 days.
A new therapy, elamipretide, is the only drug for Bart syndrome in clinical trials. In May, the FDA denied the current application for the treatment. While drug manufacturer Stealth Biotherapeutics says they still see a path forward to have elamipretide approved, Megan feels cuts within the FDA could slow down the process.
There was only one person left remaining at the FDA who had a hand on our case.
Dr. Hitendra Patel, Henry's cardiologist, says he doesn't see this as a denial.
I think the FDA wants a little more data on its efficacy.
He adds that FDA approvals in the pediatrics rare disease community are an even bigger hill to climb. But advocacy from those like Henry's family makes an impact.
How you make it, how you bring it to market, what cost, trying to prove, because, the FDA has its mandates and you have to kind of go through the trial process and it takes a long time.
He remains optimistic for the community that often gets overlooked.
My wish is to live one day, be normal without having Bart syndrome.
To be normal means something more to Henry.
Mainly when I'm in sports and I'm running around and I get tired when the other kids are running way faster and have a way better stamina.
And so the fight continues.
I think the worst thing to watch as a parent to know that your kid has something that you can't do anything about.
Megan is proud of her son and will continue to fight for his health, no matter how long it takes.
My parents help me out a lot. They just always push me and encourage me to keep on going.
Henry says he is grateful for every moment, even if it's something simple as splitting his famous grilled cheese sandwich
hot.
with those who mean the world to him.
The drug maker tells us it doesn't have a timeline for resubmitting its application, but they say they're working closely with the FDA in hopes of getting approval.
Fog took a little break, but now it's streaming back through the Golden Gate. You can just see the top of the tower there. Temperatures today warmed up for most of the Bay Area, all the way to 60 degrees in Half Moon Bay, but 70 in San Francisco for the first time all month, and into the 80s and 90s inland. We'll keep the warmth around as we head into the weekend, at least for most of us. Details coming up in the First Alert forecast.
All right, it is barbecue time. I mean, I don't know if it is right now. I hope it is. Maybe there's somebody out there that's doing that. That sounds fun.
Yeah, go up to the roof and just let your nose do the work. See if you can find something in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that would be nice. Someone with a smoker, give me a call.
Yeah, it's getting to that time of year. It's a week from today, Independence Day. Temperatures aren't going to be as warm by the 4th of July as they were today. We're in for some changes, but in the short term, well, the fog took a little bit of a break today. Even at the coast, you saw the sunshine peeking through, but now that fog is reforming, and there is plenty of it offshore. Now, the weight of the atmosphere on top of us means it's a pretty shallow marine layer, and that limits the inland intrusion that fog can make as we head through the rest of tonight. And so without a lot of widespread fog to begin the day tomorrow, our temperatures are going to warm back up, and it's going to be just kind of a back and forth fog pattern as we head through the weekend. That's going to impact things at Stern Grove, where I would expect more clouds and sunshine and cool temperatures, but it's what you expect for the last weekend in June, that close to the coast. Temperatures throughout the afternoon remaining in the low 60s on a Sunday. Looking outside right now, from the Mark Hopkins Hotel, there's the fog making its way through the Golden Gate. But you see what I mean by being a very shallow marine layer. You can still see the Marin headlands in the distance. Temperatures in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Hey, late June in the Bay Area. This is what we expect. Anywhere from 62 in San Francisco and not much warmer across the Bay in Oakland to still the upper 80s and low 90s in Livermore and in Concord. This temperature is going to take a little while to cool off as we head through the rest of tonight, but they will back down. Let's take a look at the fog as we return to the Bay Area map. And again, it's going to be pretty confined to along the coast for most of tonight, trying to peek through the Golden Gate and make a little bit of a run into some of the valleys of the North Bay. But again, that very shallow marine layer, it won't take long at all for the sun to burn through that once it comes up. Fog retreating back to the coast as we head towards mid-morning. And even along the coast, you're going to see at least a little bit of sunshine peeking through by tomorrow afternoon. Easy for me to say, getting choked up about it. Temperatures are going to heat up inland. You're going to see some of the hottest readings off to the east. That's where the purple shows up, indicating some triple-digit temperatures by tomorrow afternoon. But around the Bay Area, the hottest we're going to see is temperatures in the 90s, into the low 90s in Los Gatos and Morgan Hill, upper 80s in San Jose, one of the warmest days so far this month, with temperatures east of the Oakland Hills. Maybe not quite as hot as today, but still up into the low to mid 90s, with temperatures in the 80s in Fremont and down the peninsula and Redwood City. 60s and 70s for San Francisco and Oakland, pretty close to normal for late June, with 60s at the coast and a mix of 70s and 80s and some 90s for the North Bay, with similar temperatures in store for us on Sunday, maybe a couple degrees cooler for the second half of the weekend. As we look at the big picture pattern here, I want to look ahead to the 4th of July, kind of tease that at the beginning, and it's now squarely in the 6 to 10 day outlook range from the Climate Prediction Center, and there is a strong signal towards cooler than normal conditions for not just the 4th of July itself, which is likely going to be the coolest day we see for a while, but throughout the holiday weekend. It doesn't mean it's going to be unpleasant, but I would be prepared for some not very early July-like temperatures and plenty of no sky July conditions closer to the coast. Might have an impact on fireworks displays. We'll keep you updated. It's still a week away. Inland temperatures go from the 90s tomorrow and Sunday, a mix of 80s and 90s, to 80s across the board Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, to 70s across the board by Thursday and Friday. And there's that cool down for the 4th of July. Now, 75 degrees isn't unpleasant, but it's not very typical for early July for inland communities around the Bay Area. Temperatures Bayside go from the 70s down to around 70 degrees and then dropping back to the 60s by next week, with temperatures at the coast not a whole lot of variation. You go from the low 60s, but with some sunshine this weekend, to around 60 without much sunshine Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, to the upper 50s without really any sunshine by Thursday and Friday. Festive fog for the holiday, I guess.
I'm going to very carefully walk in, because if you've been watching the show this week, I keep ending up in the tube, transported somewhere else.
Sees that fog-filled tube and just tries to climb right in.
Yeah. All right, Paul, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, when we come back, dozens of couples ringing in Pride weekend with wedding bells at San Francisco City Hall. Plus, here's a look at what's ahead on the CBS Evening News.
Call it a masterpiece of kindness. Steve Hartman goes on the road to Wisconsin to meet a student with a special gift for classmates. That's tonight on the CBS Evening News.
Now you can get your KPIX news, weather, and live stream all in one place on the CBS News app. Download it free today.
This week marks 10 years since the Supreme Court decision that legalized same-sex marriage across the nation. And today, more than 200 couples tied the knot at San Francisco City Hall in a powerful display of pride and love.
Yes.
Steve and Sam have been together for 12 years and made the last-minute decision to get married during Pride Week. We asked them what pride means to them.
It's just being yourself and not having to have shame for that.
Exactly. And I've lived through a lot of different history of the gay movement, including losing many friends during the worst part of the AIDS crisis. And, you know, consequently, I just sort of took a break from everything. I got back online again with people, and meeting Sam was the best thing that ever happened.
We wish them well. Today's ceremonies are part of the city's Pride celebration happening all weekend. The Golden State Valkyries are hosting Pride Night. The team is taking on the Chicago Sky and rising star Angel Reese at Chase Center tonight. Fans showed up to Thrive City hours before tip-off to enjoy some of the Pride celebrations happening around the arena. Every WNBA team is set to host a Pride Night this season. Tip-off for tonight's game is at 7. And the Valkyries will be back Sunday evening taking on the Seattle Storm. You can watch that game on our sister station, Pix Plus. Coverage starts at 5 p.m. The CBS Evening News is coming up next on KPIX. Local news continues on our streaming service, CBS News Bay Area. We will be right back here in 30 minutes with CBS News Bay Area at 7. I'll see you here for that.